Perfect. So I want to know, what was your first experience with blockchain and cryptocurrency, and what made you become an advocate for its adoption?
Well, first off, thank you very much, Linda. It's a pleasure to be sharing this time and space with you on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Um, what got me really into Bitcoin and blockchain was a search for a solution. Um, and in order to find a solution, you need to understand the problem. And the big problem that, was impacting me at a mental level was this sense of despair around the corrupt, centralized nature of the central banking and the global financial system, how this system was being used to manipulate and cause destruction and famine and war and massive profiteering. And at the core was this power that a few individuals and then their downstream network of massive corporations were able to, enact their will because they had an unlimited supply of money that they could create. And this really was rooted in the central banking system. And so I was looking for alternatives. And when I first saw Bitcoin, I didn't get it. I kind of dismissed it. And that was like really early. That was probably like 2010, 2011. And then in 2013, someone walked into my life who talked all about Bitcoin and really was kind of, that portal towards my light bulb moment. And after I really realized that, this is a distributed, inclusive, scarce digital version of cash that solved this problem of how do you send value from one person to another anywhere on the world, without a trusted intermediary. Um, I never looked back and got very, very excited and installed a Bitcoin ATM in my family restaurant in Ottawa, Canada, and
Yes.
then presented to the Senate of Canada on how Bitcoin worked based on that ATM and showed them how transactions worked. Then after following that, I worked with one of Canada's largest and earliest exchanges called CA Vertex. I then became the director on the Bitcoin Alliance of Canada, who subsequently became the executive director of that association. We decided to rebrand to the Blockchain Association of Canada. And in that journey, started looking at, the application for this technology beyond, the root layer of money that Bitcoin is, and looking into industry transformation, digitization, how by leveraging blockchain technology, you can create a source of truth in an industry where parties don't trust each other necessarily. So, that was kind of my kind of core kind of coming in. And since then, it's almost been a decade now of
Yeah.
working in the industry. And I've been blessed to meet thousands of incredible innovators and entrepreneurs. And I've met, probably hundreds of scammers who are gone. They don't survive. When you're
No.
dishonest and have no integrity, like, you come and go. So, and I've got a pretty good kind of eye for, those who seek to deceive. And I really believe in honorable value creation. And, that while there is a lot of fear in the air around, the state of the world, and, like, all you need to do is turn on your television to be nice and freaked out. I don't have a television. I cut that out of my life. I cut cable out of my life. I try to
Good.
focus on value creation.
That's it.
So
No,
that's
that's
where I'm
amazing.
at.
That's pretty amazing. And a lot of people go into this field, whether it's the crypto space, NFT, they go in with the wrong intentions. So we saw that with the NFT space as well. A lot of people go in because it's a trend. They saw somebody else making money with it. They go in thinking short term. They build a community, they build like a solid like roadmap, they build everything, and then the minute that it doesn't bring the money that they were expecting at launch, they give up on the project. And when people that are getting in the space see this kind of stuff, it looks scammy, but it's laziness. If you ask me, it's laziness. It's like opening a business. You know, if I open a business tomorrow morning and I give up after 2 months in, it doesn't work like that. You have to push through the dark times. You have to push through the negativity. You cannot go into a project thinking money. You have to go in with a long-term vision. It's the process, it's the journey that should excite you, not the money, because the money is going to follow. If the passion is inside, the money is going to follow. So I like everything you're saying, and congratulations on that, by the way, on just the way you think, the value aspects. That's pretty admirable.
Well, thank you so
So
much, Linda.
my pleasure, my pleasure. So Kyle, what kind of role do you see blockchain and cryptocurrency playing in the near future?
Well, I think so, like this technology, it's so powerful, and it applies to so many different industries. So it's been described as the next version of the internet. And really, it's kind of an upgraded database system where you can't modify entries, but you can add to them. So, like at a root level, this technology is very, very impactful, and it will apply across many, many different industries. Um, with Bitcoin, we've seen uh, at the core level the financial industry and raw cash has an alternative. We have a means to send money digitally. Now with NFTs, now you mentioned a lot of people came in for, just on the money thing. And I'll say honestly, a lot of people came into Bitcoin too, based on the greed, because it had some economic fundamentals to it that trigger, that belief that, by getting in early and by acquiring and holding or trading, you can create more wealth as a result. And for a lot of people, for most people who have been in a long time, that strategy has played off pretty well.
Yeah,
Now, the NFTs, specifically around them, when a new trend emerges, yes, there's lots of great things that usually occur, and on always it attracts some negative energies too that seek to abuse or seek to just try and create like a quick cash grab. And that was very similar to like the dot-com bubble in the early days. And
yeah,
I think we're seeing like the correction out of that, and the showcased utility of the NFT space is really a new frontier. And the collectible digital arts is just one small kind of piece to the
yeah,
pie that is the NFT space, because it's
yeah,
going to involve, at the core, an NFT is like a certificate or proof of ownership or a certificate of something. So it can be used for, for house titles and insurance and identities and memberships and coupons and access and tickets and so many different things. And they're digital and programmable, and you can like, they because at the core they're open source and interoperable as well. It affords the ability for projects to start in one direction and then potentially develop a community that'll come in and keep building on them and expanding beyond. So you can it's possible that you can just get the ball rolling on something, and then the community can come in and take it in directions that weren't really necessarily your intention or you'd envisioned. So that's pretty unique. And
yes.
I see the technology applying across the whole world. I'm very excited about the opportunities for governance, for the future
Oh,
of
yeah.
the corporation and DAOs. I'm also interested in governments and how um, this technology can be applied
Mm,
towards creating radical transparency and accountability within our public sector and public systems, as well as fundamentally changing the way that our quote unquote democracy
Mhm.
works,
Yeah,
by including more people in the process and giving voice to those who care.
true, true. Speaking of it, do you think Bitcoin will maintain its dominance as a store of value?
I think Bitcoin is not going anywhere. I think Bitcoin is amazing. I don't believe that Bitcoin is the only option. I think it has a terrific role to play, and it's critical that it continues to do what it does. Will it be the dominant forever?
Mhm.
Maybe. Uh, is it going to go to $1 billion? I don't know, maybe. But it's not really the important thing about it. At the core, like a lot of people focus on the whole number go up kind
Yeah.
of attitude, but really, as an alternative financial system, payment network, store of value, uh, even the store of value, as long as it just holds value
Yeah.
and it can be used as a transactional medium for commerce and value exchange. The
Hmm.
idea of just like taking wealth and hoarding it in Bitcoin and hoping that the number goes up and then at some later date you'll be able to like, act and use that. Not too crazy about that. Like I work in the fundraising space and really love the idea that of deploying, a portion of your capital towards supporting other entrepreneurs and social innovators who are creating amazing products that are going to be creating long-term positive economic value.
Yeah.
And by investing in them, well, A, you're supporting that value kind of creation, and B,
Yeah.
if they succeed, you're going to get there's a good opportunity to have a solid return on your investment. So
Hmm.
that's the difference between kind of investing and sitting on a bunch of gold bars in your safe. Um, but in the case of Bitcoin, it's a digital safe,
Hmm.
and for a lot of people, they're storing their coins in exchanges or on hardware devices, and the amount of people that have good solid backups, like if something heaven forbid were to happen to them, and they were to pass suddenly, I don't think a lot of people have strong structures in place to assure that that wealth isn't lost. So you could
That's well
you know
said. That's well said. And that's where the education comes in. That's where I got in the game because of Bitcoin. But what made me stay in the game is all these amazing projects out there. Bitcoin was the main one, but I just find that it's a lot more than just investing in a coin, a token. It's a lot more than that. So I have a question for you about CBDC. So if CBDCs were to become the mainstream form of capital, do you think that these coins will be integrated into the pillars of our institutions like healthcare, infrastructure, the military?
um yes, I mean, I feel like CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies, at the core are they're likely not going to be like blockchain derived. They're going to be more like PayPal, but issued by the central bank.
Mhm.
That's kind of the concern, because then they can be censored, and then there can be the ability to debit your account or credit your account. So, the government, if they don't like your actions, they could just like a stroke of a key remove money from your account, and that's a recipe for disaster. Now, if CBDCs were used as simply like, a means for tax collection, and like, the only purpose of it was like, converting a little bit of, if you pay in Bitcoin and it converts to the Canadian CBDC, for example, and then that goes to the treasurer, the like, the the tax collector, like, maybe use these for government. Okay. That's there. That's a potential. Uh I feel like we've got so many different there's so many different kind of forms in which currency is evolving. We're almost going like back to the time before the central banks, when there was
Yeah.
free banking in America and there were many different competing currencies. Everything worked pretty well. Obviously, the Federal Reserve, through their influence and their tactics, convinced everybody that it would be much better to have just a singular unit that they had power over, and promoting, and this concept that the government has some sort of oversight on it, which they really don't. But and there's this threat now that if we give the central banks the ability to all of a sudden issue their PayPal money, and they work with the governments to dictate this is like the way for payments to occur, that is something that I think is going to run into a lot of challenges at a legal level. There's like antitrust laws, like this is anti-competitive because the existing banks, for example. But
Yeah.
all that said, I'll just back up for a minute, because we do already have some CBDC lights. So like
Yeah.
USDC, for example, I really feel like they're almost warning about like this terrible kind of centralized CBDC, um, while USDC, which is brought to us by Circle and Coinbase, and Circle is brought to us by Goldman Sachs, and a lot of the elite banking infrastructure. That one has the ability to censor. There is a modicum of control. It is also like blockchain based. It works. It feels like that is really I would put my chip on USDC being the CBDC light that gains traction. And I'll say it already has gained traction.
Mhm.
It's in operation, and it makes a lot of sense, and it works, and and it's available on multiple blockchains, like, so you can trade USDC on Polygon with incredibly low fees, or you can trade it on Ethereum
Yeah.
with slightly higher fees, and there's going to be different versions of it popping up on other chains as well. So it feels like that's kind of the CBDC that we're
Got it.
going to see.
Yeah. So now back to blockchain technology. So do you think the development of blockchain technology plays a positive or negative role in the proliferations of Canada's more aggressive stance on social rights, such as Native Rights, Emergency Act, the list goes on?
One more time.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to say it again. So do you think the development of blockchain technology plays a positive or negative role in the proliferations of Canada's more aggressive stance on social rights, such as the Native Rights, Emergency Act, and etc. etc.
Yeah, so again, if like and to Canada or to any country, any like hierarchical organizational structure, if the technology is applied for transparency and accountability, if it's
Yeah.
applied to the entire organization, to the entire system, I think there's a real benefit there. I think if it's applied selectively to the bottom of the pyramid, then it can become a tool for control and surveillance. So I believe that you know it can serve an excellent role, but it needs to be applied at all levels. And before trying to push this technology on everybody, I would like to see it applied to our government to solve some of the great challenges that they have around transparency, funding, conflicts of interest, profiteering, racketeering, lobbying, um, and more.
Got it. Got it. Well said. Very well said. Do you think we can create a perfect harmony with identity and anonymity?
I do not think that perfection is something we can ever achieve.
Mm-hmm.
We can simply quest for it. When it comes to anonymity as well. Privacy is truly important. Privacy by design is important. Now, when it comes to identity, like anonymity also kind of offers some challenges. And I'll just say back to what I said before. If it's applied to everybody on the bottom,
Yeah.
dangerous. If it applies to everybody, then all of a sudden the pyramid gets flipped upside down and it collapses on itself into a pool of consciousness that can help us rise into this emergent golden age. So that's where I feel.
Yes, I've spoken to a lot of people in this space, and you have a very unique way of thinking. This is what I'm realizing. Like, the way you think is very different from a lot of people, which I find that it's incredible. You don't look like the type of person that's easily influenceable or is gonna follow the crowd. I feel like you're the type of person that whatever comes in front of you, whether it's the hype, the trend, you're really gonna walk the other side. And I find that's what I admire, like I admire about you, because a lot of people are just gonna follow the trend and the hype, and you are like, no, not because everybody's doing it, I'm gonna be doing it. And that's very rare. And I know you're also like a Dogecoin, Dodge, like you're part of that community. That community, basically the ultimate meme community, which is Dodge, it started off as a joke and now is a multi-billion-dollar market. So you've said in the past that it's the best layer one out there. How is that and why?
I don't know if it's the I don't know, I'll say it's the best layer one, but
Yeah,
I love Doge. I think it's fun, and it was created as a consequence of toxicity and too much ego and energy within the Bitcoin community. So it's
yeah,
like, hey, why don't we use this technology and like fork? Technically, they forked Litecoin and created created Dogecoin, and it was like a giving community. It was fun. It was all based on memes, and at the core, it's really similar to Bitcoin. uh, Unlike Bitcoin, it doesn't have a rigid cap. It has, um, they say an infinite cap. It's uncapped, but it has a linear inflation. There's only X Dogecoin issued per block. There isn't a block halving. It's a linear inflation, which is, an interesting model as well. It has incredibly low fees. It has faster block times. But the key thing is to Doge is it's a layer one, and in order to use Doge, it's just like using Bitcoin. So I consider it like training wheels for understanding how digital assets work and how Bitcoin works too. So, and back in the day, it was easy to send somebody like 10,000 Doge or like, or more, and it was fun. And it's like, now it's gotten a little bit more serial, but it's not still too serial. It's still based on the Doge. It's funny. There's great memes,
yeah.
and there's really great
The
solutions that
best,
are being built
the
around
best.
it. The best. And it's like, I've got a card here, and it just speaks to the level of the industry right now. Like, I have this card, this is my Doge card, and this is a Visa card that I can load from my bank account. I can put like, $1,000 on there, for example, and
Yes,
then spend it. And I get, I think, 7% back in Doge. Like, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. And like the thing I believe as well that I can use Doge to fund it. And so if I were to move, say, $1,000 worth of Doge onto it, then I could, spend this buy stuff from
yes,
the market using Visa, using Tap, and it's using the Doge. So we talk about like alternatives. Like, this is totally
yeah,
alternative. This is really, really
yeah,
powerful, and that's really fun. And then there's like, there's another wallet called My Doge that's really awesome too. And again, it's just like, bringing people into the space, having those training wheel moments. And, with Elon Musk, what he said about it, I mean, I think he's like kind of a meme lord too. And so, when he says things, they're kind of signals that we should pay attention to. And he made the declaration, what if, um, wouldn't it be ironic if Doge became, a world reserve currency or a world,
Mhm.
an adopted world currency? Well, to be honest, it's already kind of happened. But if we take that, like, what does success look like at that? Like,
Yeah.
there's the chance that, this sweet Doge, this sweet
Mhm.
face, could be a symbol of
Yes.
transactional value. And to be honest, it works. I'd say one of my fun little sayings is, Bitcoin is like gold,
Yes.
and Dogecoin is like copper, but cuter.
Mhm.
And so if it works, that's the key thing. It
Yeah.
works and it's
Exactly.
fun.
So let's talk about raise.
Okay,
Raise.
I one second. I'm gonna stop this. We're gonna start it over because this meeting is only has 3.5 minutes,
Oh,
and
okay, okay.
we're gonna get
Okay,
killed.
perfect.
So here,
Yeah.
let me
No, there's
yeah,
not much left, so it's almost done. I know it was booked for 60 minutes.
yeah, but it's all good. Let me just stop the recording.